British troops are fighting in Iraq and Afghanistan, but Pakistan is increasingly becoming the focus for Western concerns about the war on terrorism. Many British terrorists have travelled there for training and inspiration, and this week President Musharraf ordered the storming of a mosque after radical Islamists took hostages. Well, joining me now is the former cricketer Imran Khan, who is now a member of the Pakistani Parliament and a member of the opposition to leader of the Pakistani Movement for Justice. Your analysis of the problem in Pakistan is rather different from conventional wisdom here in London or indeed in Washington. You see President Musharraf as part of the problem.
I wouldn't say conventional wisdom. I would say propaganda, and a carefully cultivated propaganda by General Musharraf and his people to project themselves as some sort of a bastion against hordes of Islamic militants. But actually, in my opinion, and basically everyone in Pakistan, all serious opinion makers believe that he has become the problem, because dictatorship is not the way to fight extremism, growing extremism in the society. You need to have genuine elections, a parliament that through debate and discussions marginalizes the extremists. At the moment, he's perceived as an American agent, pushing an American agenda, which is by and large considered anti-Islam. So whatever his actions, like the Lal Masjid, this is now perceived by the clerics and the right wing as anti-Islam. And so once it's perceived to be anti-Islam, there's going to be no shortage of recruits.
All right, well, let's unpack this a little. You accept that there is a worrying growth of radicalism or extremism within Pakistan, and that Pakistan in some areas is a haven to that sort of attitude?
It's growing, yes, but it's not growing for the reason people in West believe it's growing. People somehow feel that, you know, this is a hotbed for terrorism, and that's why, with each passing day, General Musharraf is the man, head of the military, who's curbing this. But actually, it's the opposite. It's growing because, as I said, the American war on terror is perceived as a war against Islam. And General Musharraf is the American man in Pakistan. So whatever he does is perceived to be with a hidden agenda.
Yeah, but what's the answer then? That America and Britain should say, OK, we'll get out of Afghanistan, we'll let the Taliban take over, we'll let the insurgency win in Iraq. Is that what you're advocating?
In Iraq and in Afghanistan, the solutions are political. It is not religion. I mean, this whole thing, the perception going around here is that somehow if you encourage moderate Muslims, somehow these extremists will be sidelined. What is actually happening is that the occupation itself is making the societies more radicalized. Pakistan is a different issue. Pakistan does not have an occupation force, but it has someone running the country who's perceived to be, George Bush's man. And because of him, he himself is now a focus of radicalization. Radicals perceive him to be anti-Islam. And this whole masjid, if you look back at
the masjid... I mean, as I understand it, historically, he comes obviously from a military background, and he believes in Pakistan fundamentally being a secular country.
But, you know, what he believes in staying in power, he's using this Islamic card...
do you oppose that? Would you like to see the state of Islam Islamicized, the state of Pakistan Islamicized?
No, Adam, the problem is that he is not there because he's fighting some sort of getting Pakistan a moderate state. He's there because he's using Islam, like a lot of people in the Cold War, a lot of dictators during the Cold War used communism as a way of staying power to get US help. He's getting US help by pretending to be this bastion against Islamic extremism. The answer, solution lies in democracy. Allow the people to decide. People have always marginalized extremes whenever they've had a chance to elect. Now he is imposing himself on the country.
That wasn't necessarily the experience, was it, in Palestinian territories with Hamas or with Hezbollah in Lebanon?
Well, in the United States elections, once the fear of Iraq, suddenly everyone wanted Iraq to be bombed in the US. Today, they moved again away from it. People always move towards the moderate, towards the center, unless there's some perceived threat to their civilization. Now, in Iraq, clearly there's a very abnormal situation going on because of the occupation. In Pakistan at the moment, You do not want General Musharraf there. You want a democratic process. Allow the people to make the choices, and they have always made the right choices. This is exacerbating the situation.
What about, I mean, let's just take an example. There have been a lot of denunciation of Britain's decision to give Salman Rushdie a knighthood. I mean, would you join in that?
Well, you know, this is now not a question of Islam, but it is a question of sensitivity. We're living in this global village. Human beings interact with each other, just like with the Holocaust, quite correctly, and nothing is allowed to be said about the Holocaust, or no caricatures, or no fun, because it is deeply painful for the Jewish people. Similarly, what we, the Muslim leaders, have not been able to convey to the West is that anything about the Prophet, which is derogatory, and the Quran, which is for us the divine word, if anything derogatory is said about them, it's deeply painful to the Muslim people, much more probably for the Holocaust to the Jews, and this is not recognized in the West. I think we have failed to convey this to the West, and as a result, whenever anything like this happens, there is, you know, anger in the Muslim world, and here you don't understand it.
Do you think that's justified?
Anything that is painful, as I said about the Jewish people, I mean, Holocaust is painful for them, and so people should lay off certain subjects in order not to hurt other human beings.
Well, really, I mean, well, if I mean, Salman Rushdie comes from, you know, he himself has got an Islamic background. I've read the book. It seems to me a serious book trying to discuss aspects of what he thinks are interesting about the Prophet. I mean, what's wrong with that?
Well, you know, because you're not a Muslim, and you would not understand it. And as I said, in the West, the way religion is treated, and say, I mean, there have been caricatures of Jesus Christ.
Sure,
but it doesn't mean that that's
There's a life of Brian on the stage and all the rest.
I saw that when I first came to university here, but it's not the way the Prophet is perceived in the Islamic world. There needs to be more sensitivity. You know, if we have, as I said, and it's not difficult to make the Western governments understand. The failure is also of the Muslim leadership.
So, what do you think is going to happen now in Pakistan? Do you think inevitably there's going to be more violent showdown? And what is the way out of that?
There's definitely going to, I mean, this Lal Masjid was, I mean, this bloodbath is just not explainable, because these people were being holed up there for 6 months. There were millions of opportunities to have diffused the situation. And the worst thing which is coming out now, that twice there was almost a surrender negotiated. Bear in mind there are women and children in the Lal Masjid. And both times the presidency rejected them. And so now the bloodbath, which according to the other side, the government figure, and they've blocked the whole area, they're not allowing any private channels to go in to ascertain the truth. And according to the other figures coming on from the other side, one of the clerics who negotiated, and then the cleric's brother who was killed, according to him, something between 700 to 800,000 people, 800 people died.
So what is the solution?
No, but this is going to have repercussions. Already there are 2 suicide bombings today. There was one yesterday. You know, this is going to radicalize and put the fear in the militants more, and the radicals, that Islam is under threat.
But you seem to be saying the only way to deal with it is to accept the rights, if you like.
The only way, Adam, let me tell you something. The only way to deal with Afghanistan and Iraq is to leave the occupation. The only way to deal with this so-called extremism in Pakistan, allow the democratic process and allow the people to marginalize these extremists. And people in the past have always done it. Given the opportunities, even the religious parties, which are not all of them extremists, they've hardly got 7% of the vote bank. It was only the bombing of Afghanistan that they increased their vote bank because of the anger against the US. But this is the right time. I mean, the West should learn from the experience of Shah of Iran backing an unpopular dictator against the democratic process. In the end, the revolution turned against the US. And it's heading that way today.
Imran Khan, thank you very much indeed for joining us this Sunday Live.